I would like to resume the Wednesday, June 21st Wilton Board of Education meeting. It's a regular meeting. We did break out into executive session to discuss the superintendent's evaluation and contract. We're now coming back to open meeting.
Yeah. Can I just clarify that when we adjourned for executive session, I said that we were going to discuss the legal evaluation and the Board of Education self-evaluation, and that is not what we did. Instead, we did, as you just said, the superintendent's evaluation and contract.
Right, and so the record's clear, I came into executive session late because I was at the Middlebrook 8th grade trip to Six Flags, which was awesome. We had a great time, and you know, as a parent, I have to say, every parent in Wilton should be proud of those kids. I mean, it was a fantastic day, wonderful kids, and the staff were amazing. I was speaking to one staff member who had a tear in her eye, thinking about having to say goodbye to our kids for the summer, and that was really, really cool. So we're all very, very fortunate. With that, we move on to comments from the public. Is there anybody who would like to speak? Please come forward and state your name.
Good evening, everybody.
Get to sit.
I'm Renee Cahill, the co-chair of the Wilton Education Foundation, and
need to give your address too.
Oh,
Just
145 Mountain Road. Sorry, I've never spoken at one of the meetings, just attended. And we're here tonight to just make a little announcement that and it took about a year in planning, but this week we delivered a $40,000 check to Kevin to be used for the construction of the new greenhouse at Middlebrook. So we're all very excited about it, and we're hoping that the kids are excited too once they find out it's there. I don't know if anybody put the cat's out of the bag with any of them.
I don't think yet.
I think it'll be a great compliment to the program that's already there. I think it'll teach the kids valuable skills of just taking care of themselves, putting back what you get out of this world, sustainability, all those wonderful lessons. And we thought it was a really nice fit for a really long time. So we're glad we were finally able to make this commitment and get things started.
So, Jim Kenyon, 44 Bald Hill Road, also a member of the Wilton Education Foundation Board. And so I completely echo what Renee said, and also would just like to say that since we've kind of closed out our fiscal year, that was kind of the last program, and we just want to thank the community for all of their support, and for the Board of Education and the schools for all of the support for our programs. And we've got some new programs teeing up in the fall, so I would ask you to sort of keep your eye out and check out our website, and you'll have to wait for the fall.
It's a teaser. It's a teaser. Well, we can't officially accept your gift until we get to that point in the agenda, but I would like to say awesome. Thank you so much. It's incredible. I know in talking with some of the staff and students, what you've done in general for the district is amazing, and what this project means to so many people is just really, really wonderful. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Seeing no one, we move on to the consent agenda. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at that?
Yes. Yes.
Are there any questions, comments?
No.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we move on to reports and recognition. First up is presentation of the yearbook. You don't have to state your address. It's okay.
I'm just here. Grace is going to do all the talking.
This year I was part of the yearbook club, and I was really excited to be part of this program. And this year, we would have an assigned date during the winter, and we would go to the computer labs and pick out pictures and assign the pictures, the names of the students that were inside of them, and then place them in a saved document for the yearbook. And it's a very nice process.
Did you get to take pictures?
Sometimes.
Like the students, though,
Yeah.
got to take some pictures?
So I ask the same 2 questions every year. What did you like best about the process?
Well, it was a lot of fun kind of seeing all of the pictures and all of the memories that we've gone by and how fast the year went.
Was there anything you didn't like about it?
No, it was just a good experience.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Still
And Grace, you're going to do it again next year?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so
This is
much.
Cider Mills.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
So, my name is Rusty Hurt. I do live in town for a few years.
Right.
I've been doing yearbook for 27, 28 years. This is the finale right here. And thanks to Alita, who is absolutely 2 years, the editor-in-chief of the yearbook, done a phenomenal job. She had a good team with her. But she's done great work, so why don't you, while I pass these out, why don't you tell us about it?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, I also live in town, and I've been at for 4 years, since freshman year, after she encouraged me to join after I had her for Painting 1. So the theme of this year is called Replay, and how we came up with this theme is, as seniors, we were looking at our time, not only in the high school, but also Millbrook, in Cider Mill, Miller Driscoll, and we wanted to incorporate that into the yearbook. And so we used the 21st century term of replay to kind of replay all the memories that we've had, and also look at old pictures we had. And we really incorporated that theme in the beginning pages of the book. Like the first 4 pages have pictures from when we were in Cider Mill and Middlebrook, and I think it worked really well because when we were at the senior picnic, people were going through and they were referring like back to their middle school selves, like, oh, I remember when I was like that, and I remember we did this, that kind of thing. So I think it was a really good theme that we could use, and a really good one that we can reflect back on.
It's phenomenal.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Right.
Same 2 questions. What did you like best, and what was frustrating?
Yeah. Well, the first one, what I liked best, what I really liked about this year in particular is we incorporated some ideas in pages that we don't normally do. Like one new one we did was we had, I think, a 2-page spread that said like 10 things that Wilton High School seniors only know. And it's one of the things like mastering the Wilton Warrior logo while you're scrawling it on posters. Another one is like knowing Kim in the booth and saying hi to her and all that kind of stuff. The frustrating thing is, of course, every yearbook club knows that when you come up to the deadline, it's a little stressful, but what's really nice is with the team, you have the camaraderie and everybody working together, and then you finally get it done. There's like a sigh of relief, and then you finally get the book, and it's all worth it, really.
What was the deadline day?
You kind of try to forget after it happens.
The last deadline, we have deadlines all through the year. The last deadline, I think, was early April, very early April. And then we wait and hope that we don't have any mistakes. And it turned out really well.
It's always a little earlier than people expect. They're like, oh, so you'll have this event and that, and then it's like, we have it all done, and then you can finally let it off our shoulders.
So one of the things that I learned a couple of years ago from Rusty was that, you know, though she kind of facilitates it, the students are really the creative power behind the creation of the yearbook. They plan and direct the assembly and make decisions on pictures and really soup to nuts. So this is truly a student-led publication, and you know, credit to you for setting it up that way. And Alita, I haven't had a chance to go through. I've seen a couple of pages, but I'm excited, and it looks phenomenal. So congratulations to you and the rest of the team.
So if you want to look at one interesting page, if you don't mind me saying, it's the last page in the book part of it, not before the end of the book. which kind of tells you about where did we come from the yearbook. A little tribute to all the editors, and an interesting kind of synopsis of where we didn't have technology to where we have that technology to now it's all done online and everything has to be proofed before we send it in. It's got to be letter perfect before we send it in. We get pretty close.
Yeah, it's after the senior ads, I believe.
Oh, it's after the senior.
Page 304.
Oh, that looks like it, right?
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And Rusty, thank you for all of your dedication for so many years.
It's fun, you know. It's fun working with the kids. Got a lot of great memories. You get to know these kids pretty well.
Yeah.
Especially when we're getting near deadline, we're trying to get it done. And there's always a few that come up and they take over and get it done. Nita's been doing it for 2 years, and it's great to have that kind of experience and expertise.
Yeah, you learn a thing or two when you are like in the publishing business like this.
And then, of course, we have to be self-sustaining. We don't take any money from you folks. We have to cover our costs and do that and try and keep it as reasonable as we can for the students.
That's awesome. Thank you very much.
If you don't mind, so Rusty, 44 years, is that correct? Rusty was one of the first teachers that I had gotten to know when I first got here, and I think we developed a very quick collaborative relationship because if you know Rusty, you know that she cuts right to the chase, and if she has concerns, she lets you know. So we've had a number of opportunities over the few years that I've been here to work together, and I've found her to be a really willing partner to problem solve. So I want to say thank you and wish you the very best as you look forward to the next chapter of your own life. And on behalf of our board and all of our students and the rest of the staff, congratulations and thank you for a job well done. Do we have a Middlebrook yearbook?
I'm not sure what Ron's plan was.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay,
I know that you came out today, so that may be a bit of a hold up. I'm not sure.
We'll catch up then, fine.
Okie doke. We then move on to discuss and approve gifts, grants. Request, do you want to walk through that?
So we have some of our PTA representatives, so I'd invite them to come on up. This is our phenomenal PTA leadership team. We shared with the board in the board packet a summary of those gifts and grants. You heard about the most recent one from the web, but just like to take an opportunity to have you all take a minute and share the kinds of donations you've made this year and what they have gone towards at each of the schools.
Hi. Do I need to give my address?
If you don't mind. Yes.
Julie Fowler, 5 Linden Tree Road. Outgoing Miller Driscoll PTA president.
You seem very outgoing.
Yeah. I am going to turn it over to Carolyn Lyon, who is our Gifts and Grants chair, who can much more eloquently go through the Gifts and Grants. She is the brains behind the operation, but I did want to take this opportunity to thank the district, the board, and the school, Miller Driscoll, for being so receptive and supportive of our efforts with the schools. Kathy came in this year and allowed us to do our thing brand new, and it was a great opportunity to work with her and a great opportunity for me to give back personally as a mother and a member of this community. I also want to say that Wilton Schools has a very unique opportunity for parents to partner with the educational system. Having grown up in Connecticut, both my husband and I, my husband in New Canaan, myself up in Northern Connecticut, when we grew up in the school systems, my parents came in for conferences, and that was it. The opportunities that parents are provided, the invitation to come in and be completely in connection with the educational system is something extremely unique. Everything from the Halloween parade, parents as reading partners, the crafts for the parties, the music shows, everything, the outdoor learning center, science enrichment, the parents are given such opportunities, and we thank you so much for that. So I'm going to turn it over to the woman who got us excited about rocks this year, and you'll see why.
Carolyn Lyon, 15 Spruce Drive. So this is my third year, I think, doing gifts and grants, and I am leaving Miller Driscoll, but just for 2 years, and then I will be back. So at the beginning of the year, we do startup grants. As a former teacher, I remember how much of my own money I spent in the summer getting ready for the new school year. So we give a grant to returning teachers of $100 and new teachers $200, and they submit us their receipts. We had a handful of teachers this year, returning teachers, who actually took their $100 and donated it to new teachers, because they know that they were spending more than the $200, and they're new teachers, so they have no money, and yet they're spending this. So we had a handful of teachers do that, so I wanted you to know that too. We were able to reimburse over $5,750 to teachers for their own things that they had purchased for the beginning of the school year. We made a donation to Wilton Youth Council along with the other PTAs for certain presentations that were district-wide. We were able to fund a weekly reader classroom subscription for a second grade classroom, and it was, the feedback was really, really good for that. So what we decided to do is extend it, and we are funding for the next year for every classroom. First and second grade is getting a weekly reader. Kindergarten and pre-K are getting Ranger Rick Cub, I believe, which is a monthly publication for them. So every student will get some sort of subscription, weekly or monthly, based on their grade. There's a school-wide event for pumpkin carving at Halloween time. So this year for the preschool kids, we actually purchased pumpkins and markers and stickers, and they decorated them during the school day, during their preschool day. For math, we were able to purchase a subscription to weekly puzzles. It was grade appropriate, so the teachers downloaded, they got an email, they downloaded either the kindergarten, first grade, or second grade puzzles. They were different every week. They got a weekly one, so they've built up a whole collection of them. We added that line item to our budget for next year, and there's a whole new series of puzzles being released, so the teachers will get a whole new series of puzzles to use in their classrooms, either as enrichment. Some teachers use it as math starters at the beginning of their day. Some teachers sent them home during vacation breaks. They were used in a variety of ways. And we are also able to fund some math game cards that were used, I think, during family math night, and the teachers loved them. So we bought 2 sets for each classroom, and so the teachers now have those in their classroom. Winter was long, so when we got back to finally, I think, our March meeting, we decided we wanted to end the year, which was now extended to this week. So we hired Danny Magic to entertain the kids. 2 magic shows per grade. He started today with the kindergartners and the pre-Ks. Tomorrow's first grade, and Friday is second grade. So I saw him in the parking lot when he was leaving, and he had a blast. I know Julie saw the show today.
Yes.
He's good.
He is, and teachers completely bum rushed the stage for his card when they were done.
Yep. We are very excited about the new STEAM classroom at Miller Driscoll next year. We are funding birds to go back into the building. They will be in the STEAM classroom, along with we purchased some streaming live cameras to focus in on the chick eggs, which will be back next year. The teachers can then pick up that signal, show it on their smart board, so whatever's going on in that STEAM classroom, the birds. We also have purchased a 29-gallon aquarium for fish. So all of those things can then be brought into the classroom so the kids can see those things in the STEAM lab room or in their classroom. We were able to purchase for a special education classroom some big bean bags, some foam bean bags for some flexible seating for when the kids are reading, and some theraputty for kids who needed to just hold on to stuff while they were working on classroom activities. And then my last thing that I found this book. I found a project on Facebook. It's called Only One You. And it's about this rock family, and they tell their son before he goes into the world on how to leave his mark in the world, but yet be unique and speak when it's appropriate, but listen when you need to. And so what we did is we purchased rocks for every second grader. We met in the OLC last week and this week, and they each painted their own rockfish. So I brought a couple. They painted their own rockfish, and this will be installed as a project once all construction is cleaned up.
We are going to install it on the property of the school as a gift from this year's second grade class to next year's class, and hopefully it'll be a second grade project for them to leave to the younger kids, to remember to be unique, to leave their mark, and to work together.
Yeah.
So in all, we spent about $18,000 in gifts and grants to Miller Driscoll.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that was our year.
Nicola Davis from Cider Mill. So we have an ongoing number of grants that we give each year, like the new teacher and all classroom teacher grants and specials. You're gonna have to help me out because I didn't bring any notes. We bought a new, oh, thank you. To the rescue. Of course you have it. I brought it just in case. Thank you. At the beginning of the year, we supported 2 classroom teachers who wanted to try out flexible seating, and I believe that was a tremendous success. We do assemblies for each grade level. We have a visiting author. This year it was Lisa Graff came in for 3 days. We've purchased 4 water bottle refilling stations to thinking of green and the first step to a sustainable zero waste thing. We're on it. We replaced a video camera that broke mid-year for the school. At the 11th hour, the school asked us if we could pay for a Scott Driscoll internet safety presentation for the 5th graders. Which was wonderful. And our big gift this year was a $35,000 gift to support the work of the Library Learning Commons and to transform the TV studio to put collaborative spaces in the Library Learning Commons and in each house area. What else was there?
Which is
So that's
huge.
the
We are
screen
so
thing.
excited about that.
Yeah.
So we're really thankful. And this isn't the first year that the PTA has supported the Library Learning Commons, and so we are very appreciative of.
So I don't have exact figures, but I think that Cider Mill PTA has supported the school to at least $50,000.
Yeah.
We're going in order. Laura Rowley, 45 Woods End Drive, and I'm the outgoing Middlebrook PTA president. Middlebrook does it a little bit differently in that we tend to do sort of one big gifts and grants meeting at the end of the year where all of the requests are presented. And it's a lot of fun actually because the teachers are there asking, with the request, but we also have students who come and tell us their experience with things. So it's really a great experience to be a part of. So at our annual Gifts and Grants meeting this May, we approved $20,000 in grant requests, and these range from about $8,600 in what we call our annual grants. These cover ongoing sort of assemblies and workshops for students, including our World Language Assembly, Shakespeareans, our Birds of Prey. So those are things that tend to come around every year. Outside of that, we approved another, let's just do some math here, 11,500, I guess. No more than that. No, that's about right. And these would be sort of more one-time grant requests. So Project Adventure, if you're familiar with it, is our climbing and ropes course at Middlebrook. It is, I believe, 22 years old and was in need of some equipment replacement and repairs. And so we are spending over $5,000 to accomplish that this year. And our PTA has always enjoyed funding things that get our kids moving and outdoors, so happy to do that. We're also funding some flexible seating for the school, just around the school, which that's been successful in, I think, several locations and something that the kids really like. The few options they've had, it seems to work well. We are also funding a visiting author. We're getting Margaret Haddix.
Margaret Haddix.
She's a pretty big name, so we're very excited to get her. So she'll be coming next year. And then just our music department asked for some chimes because the chimes that they're using don't really belong to the school, and they're falling apart. So we're happy to be able to take care of that for them. And then just other things, additional funding for our outdoor classroom, audio-visual equipment for the onstage, backstage club, which does all the AV recording work for the school. So those are some dedicated kids, and we're happy to support that as well. And a couple other things, but we're very happy to echo what Julie said, to have the support of the school and the district, and also that parents can be involved. It's really, it's wonderful. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's Savit Constantine, Wilton High School PTSA president, 135 Whipstick Road. Like Middlebrook, we just had our last May meeting, and that's when we did most of our gifts and grants. And it just turned out that everything kind of focused on the students' in-school experience for this summer, and things are in the process of being purchased. We are purchasing 2 outdoor picnic tables to expand the outdoor eating work area that will be built over the summer outside the cafeteria. And to accommodate students' need for seating and device charging, we have 2, potentially 3 couches with multiple USB ports that will be placed in corners of the jungle and cafeteria that are kind of currently underutilized or not utilized. So this will kind of open up the space. You might have noticed the one outside the waiting room of the upstairs high school office, and that was just dead space before, but now I don't think that couch is ever empty. We're also helping out with the ever-expanding curriculum of the outdoor garden. We've granted various materials to build new beds for the organic garden. And actually one of my favorite items, because this was such a unique insight to the students' behavior before and after school, or activities before and after school, the purchase of a wireless Bluetooth music speaker for the indoor weight room. We all had questions at the PTSA meeting. Bob explained that students, so they have music to listen to while they're working out, would be carrying around their speakers all day. And I guess it would all be taking turns. So we are more than happy to mount a wireless speaker there so the students don't have to carry something around every day. And particularly the days when students don't, they forget their speakers. This way we can ensure that music is going to be played in the weight room with no problem. And then in addition to these items, I believe there's just some miscellaneous items, but like Middlebrook and the other schools, we've also funded, some speakers, some presentations that came in. Slightly more serious topics when it gets to the high school. We had Michael Fallon both for the students and then also for the parents just last month. And then in February, we did fund bringing in the Date Safe project and the Yellow Dress, working with the school to kind of address the issues that kids and teens are facing in school and life these days. And we really look forward to continuing this work next year. We hope that we spent about $15,000 so far this year. We hope next year the pile will be a little bit bigger. We'll work harder on fundraising. And we look forward to working with the school, with Board of Ed, and making these schools stronger.
That's wonderful. Before you go, so I think it's important to know, from my perspective, you're going to agree with this? We want to say, all right, I'll do the flowers. How stellar routine worked out here. So the partnership with the PTAs, like the partnership with WEF, with our parents and community, is vital. And as you know, the operating budget just doesn't cover it all because there's so much. And through their incredible donations, we're able to provide opportunities for kids that they wouldn't otherwise have. But I think what I also want to recognize is these women and the scores of others who contribute countless hours and oftentimes get flack for it. Wouldn't you say? Not always, but sometimes.
Just from my husband.
Can we say?
That's just from me. So, but they do this work with smiles on their faces, and because they know it's what's best for kids. So I'm eternally grateful, and please, a very small token of gratitude from us, from the Board of Ed. Thank you. And please, don't stop fundraising.
We're working on it already, trust me. Thank you.
Thank you.
who did I miss here? I told you, Abbott Costello. Thank you. So thank you very much.
Thank you
Have
so
a great
much.
summer.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with you next year, and to our outgoing presidents, God bless you. You guys have done wonderful, wonderful work. So you want a motion to accept the gifts and grants, and then
There aren't any others to present.
no, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that, I'd like to make a motion to formally accept not only the WEF gifts and grants, but also the PTA gifts and grants, and I'll make that motion myself. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question.
Sure.
On the last page, it's listed twice, the anonymous 20,000 for the STEAM lab.
2 separate checks in a total of 40,000.
Okay.
Wonderful.
And somebody's been designated now to oversee that?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Wow.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Board Chair's report. What a year. I cannot thank the board enough for all of the effort that you've all put in over the course of this past year. I know to a person that you've all sacrificed. I know that you've all worked hard, and I know that the town of Wilton is a better place because of the work that each of you do. So I personally want to say thank you very much. We're about to embark on one of the greatest joys of the Board of Ed chair, which is handing out diplomas on Saturday. I have to tell you, it's an amazing experience. Jory knows, he's stood there with me for so many years. It's an amazing group of kids. I mean, it's a 13-year process in most cases, and to a person, they come across the stage smiling, sometimes carrying large pieces of fruit, happy, thankful, polite, professional, and it's truly a tribute to the work of the entire staff and all of the teachers and volunteers. So I thank you for making my job this coming Saturday so much fun. My own daughter's going to be walking across the stage, so I would like to apologize ahead of time for being a complete mush when the time comes. But with that, thank you very, very much. Dr. Smith?
Great. I have a few items. Leading off, Lucille, do you mind just, thank you. So, you've heard me discuss our existing websites, the bane of my existence, and the existence of many others. So working with our webmasters, Lucille, Eric, and Frank Compar, we've been putting together a new website which will be ready to launch later this summer, and we'll send a note out to all of our parents and staff as soon as we finalize some of the details after tomorrow's meeting. But I wanted to give you a sneak preview. So this is a rough cut of our new homepage, and just in terms of layout, some features in trying to make it much more user-friendly. Can you scroll over the I want to button? So as parents and other users come to our website, we want to make it very easy because this is one of the consistent complaints we get is how do we get to whatever it is we're trying to do, and just lay out whatever the activity is a user wants to do, whether it's registering a child, paying student fees, viewing Board of Ed minutes and agendas. That'll be able to happen in one click. The website's dynamic, so regardless of the size of the screen, it'll adjust accordingly and you'll be able to get access to it. We tried to clean up some of the other features through a static set of links. So while this will be the primary splash page, as you scroll through interior pages, these links up here will remain static. So you'll be able to get back to whatever it is you're trying to do. So one piece that's been missing for a long time is an Active Directory. So now if you want to find a staff member, you'll be able to go to the directory. My hope is when it's fully loaded, you'll have not only a name, a phone extension, an email, but also an image, a picture. So that'll be there for everybody. There's a language feature. And if you scroll down, these are all live buttons, and they'll click in directly to each of the school pages. The other major concern we've had for years is the aggregation of the calendar. So what we're expecting to be able to do on this homepage is pull feeds from all of the school calendars, the continuing ed calendar, the district calendar, the athletics calendar, and so at a glance you can get the list of activities for any given day, and then you'll have an option to view a full calendar as well as filter if you want to sort out, you don't need that much information, want to sort out to a particular building. The news will continue to update, and then as you scroll down further, we'll continue to rotate some of the successes that we want to highlight and some of the statistics to really celebrate some of the great features of our community. And then at the bottom, we'll have also tied out all of the links to various social media pieces. So a lot of work has gone into this over many months. We've used the redevelopment of the website to also clarify communications procedures. As you know, Edline is no longer being supported, so we still have some staff who use Edline as a communication tool with families. So we'll be migrating them over to a new tool that's embedded within PowerSchool. We'll use School Messenger for PTA as well as district and building level communications. And then teachers will have the option of using Google Classroom to communicate with parents and students, or the feature that's embedded within PowerTeacher. As part of that, we've also reframed expectations for webmasters and school secretaries, so that way the website will become a much more robust and frequently updated tool that will actually represent all of the great work that's happening in the schools. So quick sneak peek, much more to come, but wanted to let you get a sense of it and just look at some of the aesthetic differences. So really thrilled to have this, and it's been a long time coming.
That looks great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really nice.
So that was item number one. This is the good news edition of the Board of Education meeting. So I just want to say a congratulations to all of our staff, to our students. It's been a tremendous year, and having the privilege of walking through classrooms in every school, I get to see daily the work that goes on, and I know the effort that our staff commit to continuous improvement, and it's tremendous. We continue to experience lots of success, and so I'm really grateful for their work and for their commitment to our students and families. So I wanted to say thank you to our staff. Thinking forward, next year will be another step in the journey as we embark on our Ready Access adventure. Fran, the LLC staff, the tech staff have been busy over the last couple of months, as you've seen, making preparations. So we'll be ready to go in September, and looking forward to that. There's still lots of questions that we have to work through, but I think we will see a dramatic step forward in the opportunities that we provide to students to connect with authentic audiences, to do deeper research, and to create. So I'm very excited about that. I also want to say thank you to all of you for your efforts in supporting this district and our district staff. Your own commitment to continuous improvement really sets the tone for everybody else, and I'm grateful for that and look forward to continuing that work next year. Last but not least, certainly not least, this is Ms. Paul's last Board of Education meeting in Wilton. So we wanted to say she's been thanked and goodbye to death, I think, at this point.
You can never be thanked enough. Never.
Right. But, on behalf of a very grateful district, again, a token that is very small, we wanted to say thank you and wish you the very, very best.
Thank you.
So you'll be missed.
Thank you very much. And the board echoes Dr. Smith's sentiments. Thank you so much. I'm assuming your brown pear consumption is going to go down.
Since that brown pear, I can't enjoy brown pear. Shells is leaving me brown pear, so I mean, really. It's become the joke.
I thought of you in the store the other day. Like, oh,
see
look.
what I mean?
And I never noticed brown pears before.
So, for those of you who don't know, we learned that Anne's way of relieving stress is eating brown pears. And we're assuming you're not going to have any more stress in your life, so
absolutely
you won't eat any more brown pears.
It's over.
The committee reports. Lori? Laura?
No, we don't need to report.
We didn't have a quorum for our meeting this week, so we don't have a report.
Somebody was missing?
Yeah, somebody was
all I'll
missing
say.
because he was at Middlebrook. So,
We
enjoying Middlebrook.
were unable to get a quorum for our building committee, so.
Alrighty, we move on to review and discuss continuing education end-of-year report.
Great, so we welcome back Dolores and company, and she's going to provide just a summary of activities.
No pressure, but this is always one of the most fun presentations of the year.
Pickle paddle.
Let the record show she's coming bearing weapons.
Pickle paddle.
Good evening, and thank you for providing time for continuing education. I'm here tonight with Emily Dowden, our Supervisor of Children's Programs, and we will briefly highlight this year's progress. I'd like to just start with our departmental improvements. Early this year, we implemented an online automated billing system for our child care unit. Our child care unit has scheduled monthly payments, so we're fully automated in that regard, and putting this through saved us a ton of time and provided us with a very detailed and more accurate financial report for that unit specifically. Along the technology lines, we launched an Instagram account for our young students and programs, and also for our adult students and programs. Our future plans do include opening up a YouTube account, which would be really special for the Wilton Conservatory of Music.
With regard to programming, we offered 16 new programs this year. Excited about that. Really successful, 7 in the STEM field, and the remainder in the arts and sports. Camp Invention is coming back this summer with 120 students enrolled. That's up from 80 students last year. We're offering a subsidized SAT summer program this year. And also, we continue to collaborate and hire Wilton teachers. And lastly, we're really excited and looking forward to moving into dedicated classroom space at Miller Driscoll for our child care unit. Really exciting, and special thanks goes out to Kathy Kuhn for generously providing this space for us.
Traditionally, we close this report with our top 5 adult education programs. And so, the number 5 adult program this year was Spanish. The number 4 was knitting with Charlotte Taverna.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It is.
Go Charlotte.
The number 3 program was in our cuisine section, was specifically our bread baking classes with Wave Hill, and we had some Italian specialty classes that were a huge hit this year. So that was the number 3 class. The number 2 class, tennis, and the number 1 adult education class this year did not leave us in a pickle, but rather produced profits while having a ball, and it was pickleball, the number 1 fastest growing program in America, soon to be hopefully the fastest growing sport in Wilton. And so from the Wilton courts in 2017 to the courts in Tokyo in 2020, I say game on.
What is that?
Oh, it's this is the paddle, and it's like a wiffle ball, and you could play it indoor and outdoor, and it's like a mini tennis game, and it's a ton of fun. We'll have to invite you to our full program, Lori.
Okay.
Sign me up.
Which one of the school facilities do you use to play pickleball?
Well, we only offered a workshop, a 4-session workshop. It was an intro workshop, and we did that workshop in March and April at the Middlebrook gym. We had an enrollment of 24 adult education students. The most beautiful thing to see was when parents came to pick up their lacrosse players who were in their teens, they were shocked to enter the gym where there were 24, or actually adults, including the instructor, all playing this sport. It was great.
Yeah, they sat and watched.
Right.
It's great.
That's awesome.
It was awesome.
It was fun.
Bruce, So Dolores and Emily are also, fabulous partners in this work in serving kids, and on numerous occasions, our schools and the principals have partnered with Continuing Ed to help put together programs. So Dolores and Emily, through Continuing Ed, have helped support the Learning Commons at Cider Mill, because we've been able to find a way to partner. And most recently, they are also providing funding for the greenhouse, and so in working with Heather, come up with a plan to share that space. But I want the board to know that just about every time we ask, Dolores says yes, how can we make this work? And they've been just fabulous partners. Much appreciated.
Well, it is a pleasure to work with the Wilton, with you and with the other administrators and the Wilton teachers. And I think our philosophy, well, our business model is that there is a shared benefit. And, the other thing I would like to say is that we also feel like we should invest in the turf. And, we do reap the rewards in seeing that the young students, even to the older students, all benefit in that.
Wonderful.
Yeah, like Heather Priest is running a summer program with us. And now we have 2 weeks and there are 16 kids in each class. So next year we're hoping to continue and then use the greenhouse with her. And so
it's a great
really
arrangement.
Yeah.
It's mutually beneficial to all of us.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Any questions?
It's just great.
Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you.
We now move on to review and discuss the school climate update.
So Kim Zemo is here, and she has a few students with her, and she's going to provide the board just a brief update on the work that she's been coordinating this year.
I will leave you in charge of that. Hello. Hi. Kim Zemo, Safe School Climate Coordinator, and I'm here with Noelle Roseman, who has been an integral part of the school climate efforts at the high school, as well as throughout the district. So excited to have you by my side. So I'm so thrilled to kind of report on this first year of having the school climate position. And we know school climate's important because that we need to make sure that all of our students feel safe, valued, cared for, respected, and engaged. And if we do that, learning increases. And to spend the year focusing on preventative efforts and having that opportunity has been really exciting for me. The research tells us that positive school climate is a critical dimension in risk prevention, health and wellness promotion efforts, and learning. And it's really the fundamental dimension of climate is the relational piece. And so our focus has been on student connectedness, as well as the school, family, and community partnership. And we know that school connectedness is also a predictor of adolescent health, academic outcomes, and violence prevention. So the focus for this year has been taking the National School Climate Standards and translating the research into actionable steps to help us create a vision and framework for ongoing sustainable school climate. We've been exploring restorative practices this year and have sent staff to state conferences. Every member that has gone has been really excited about what they're learning, and this is ways to set up their classroom as well as alternatives to discipline, and that's something we're going to be exploring further next year. Been able to provide professional development in prevention, intervention, and response to bullying, harassment, and mean behavior. Had the opportunity to consult on 17 cases this year, and that's throughout the district, and that's around discipline, bullying, harassment, threatening behavior, and also student safety. What's been so nice about the work in these cases is for students that are transitioning to a new building to have that opportunity to work with the families and begin to prepare for that transition and offer supports for that transition, I think has been really helpful for families that are struggling with their students. Also working on a process to create a system so we make sure that our student safety support plans that are in place for students that have been ongoing victims to bullying, that those plans are being monitored and that they're being transitioned and communicated as the students transition. we're looking at the possibility of a juvenile review board here in town, which will help us for students with first-time offenses, as well as our FOIs and truancy referrals, as the court system will no longer be taking those at the end of this month. So really looking to the community to offer resources for those situations where families and students are struggling. We had a meeting today, and there's a lot of key stakeholders who are excited about this work. We've also been able to provide suicide alertness training to our mental health staff across the district, and PE and health, and we have in the budget next year to train everyone at the high school to become a suicide alert school, and looking to do that throughout the district over the next few years. With collaboration with the Youth Council, we've been able to train our peer helpers in mental health awareness and suicide safety. We've also been able to offer the teen dating violence awareness programs throughout the district with collaboration with the PTA. And we're really excited about the launch of a transition program for incoming 9th graders, which we really feel is going to be a strong impact on climate in terms of focusing on connectedness and helping students move up in a way that helps them to feel safe and welcomed. And Noelle's been a great part of that. Another exciting piece has been having the time to really connect with the outside resources, and the Youth Council partnership has been really great this year, and we see that getting stronger as we move forward, and tailoring some of the programs that they're doing in the community to be able to give some of the same messages to the students. So how can we tailor some of their programming with what we can do within the schools? They were the recipient of the Wilton Women's Club this year, a large grant, and they're partnering with us to potentially offer specific training to our mental health staff, to offer dialectical behavioral therapy, which is a proven tool to help students with self-regulation skills and interpersonal skills, and we would be looking to offer this to all students in looking at tier 1, 2, and 3, so not just the most at risk. We're also looking at offering a parent education series that's been really well received in the community on how to talk to kids so kids will listen. And our social workers were just trained recently by Susan Bowerfield to be able to offer that program ongoing throughout the year next year for parents. So again, trying to look at how we can foster partnerships with the parent community. And we're just going to go over a few highlights in all the buildings around the school improvement process. It's been exciting getting into the different buildings and seeing, you got to help me with this. There we go. Okay, so really exciting. Miller Driscoll created a student leadership team this year, 2nd graders. This was a big task. At the beginning of the year, we weren't sure if we were going to be able to really do the work, trying to get them to focus, but it's been fun and exciting, and they've done a really good job. You want to hit the next one? Just let you. There we go. Okay. So they named themselves this year. They're called Mildred Stars, and they surveyed kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd graders, and they wanted to focus on the bathrooms. Apparently the bathrooms are a huge issue at Miller Driscoll, and they did a poster contest. We helped them paper the bathrooms, which was a very interesting project. Elementary school bathrooms are interesting. And if you click on the one to the right, they even came up with this adorable song. They did some great work this year, and to see the growth over the year was very exciting.
Go. Use the toilet flush. Walk and sing. You monster house.
So that's something hysterical. Yeah. Okay. Do we go back? We gotta go back to this.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Right. So you love that the kids generated that. They identified the need.
They identified the need. They created the solutions. The picture on your left is they designed trash cans with vases and trying to encourage kids to use the trash cans. And they were so these kids who could barely focus at the beginning of the year, at the last meeting sat for an hour and worked collaboratively in groups and did some really exciting work. So we're really proud of the work that they did down there. And Elena White has been invaluable in leading that work. Next slide. Jen, I think, did you want to speak to your work at Cider Mill?
Well, we gave a little bit of an update when we updated the scorecard, but our wonderful leadership team, they continue to really create projects designed and targeted to building connections among our students, celebrating all of our staff. You see a staff appreciation board where they interview personally the staff, and then people can leave comments about the different faculty members and staff, and that's been really exciting. They've created their own mission statement, their own goals. What else do you have up there? Can you go to the slide? A huge shift for us is this is our first year of BE. So BuzzBee has come to our school and has really taken over. We've created a new pledge that we share and say together every Monday. The creation of the bee was done by the children. We had a contest, and you can see it represents all of the different colors of the houses, and that's been a project and something that really has taken hold throughout our school to build some consistency and throughout the school. We've got our respect, responsibility, and ready to learn matrix, which is wonderful because with this school culture and climate work throughout the district, actually Mill Driscoll has also adopted somewhere along this year the same matrix. So we're really excited to have our second graders come up, and we're really going to be on the same page, which is really nice. You can see anybody who knows Rich Lacko there in the middle of all of us bees, but he is our what is his name? Freddie. But he shows how we do the school listening look. I don't know if any of you were familiar with the social thinking curriculum, but he's dressed up for Halloween as the little character that demonstrates how to do the show me the school listening look, which is part of what we do is, in our different assemblies. I think that might be it. I think so.
All right, on to Middlebrook. I pause it. Team Change is the name of the Middlebrook team, and did I start the slideshow? Help me out here.
Stop touching it, Kim.
I just believe you to it, okay? Okay, so they worked on, you can go to the next slide, their behavioral expectations. They didn't really change the school rules, but they were aware that they weren't being enforced, and the kids really didn't know what the clear expectations were, so they're creating a matrix and really focusing on here are the expectations, and everybody's enforcing the same rules, which is helpful in terms of climate. You can have the next slide. They also, the student design team decided to name hallways, so they have Respect Way, Tolerance Pass, and Sincerity Street. They also spent a good deal of time, the teams, Lauren Feltz put out to the teams on the connectedness piece is think about ways that you can explicitly work on connectedness within the team. So each team created a plan this year that they were working on to really enhance those student to teacher connections at the high school. And then at the high school, they're working on a couple different projects. The Humans of Wilton High School, which talks about, gives some information about students. They tried to focus on new students and new staff this year, and working next year on having a QR code where you could just walk up, because the kids weren't sure if people were really going up and reading it. So with your phone, you could click on the QR code and get more information. We had some different hidden gem projects throughout the year. Our adult design team was focusing primarily on the student connectedness and making sure that every student in the school feels a connection. You can go on to the next slide. And we're also trying to weave in the school climate goals through our advisory program. And so there was one activity we did towards the end of the year, which was around respect, and asking every advisory to draw on a canvas what does respect mean to them as a group. And we got some pretty amazing drawings, and there was a discussion that followed with that. You can click on the Sunday wishes. We have a little video that the TV studio did on some grant wishes being granted. Do you want to just make it big? So this student's wish was to be king for a day, and we did it on his birthday. We found out his birthday was coming up, so he was pretty excited about that.
Tiny bit.
The crown didn't hold so well. Excuse me for a minute. We have something to be saying here. Hello.
Hello.
So, Victoria and Scott. It's like, I can't leave.
One of the grades that
One of the exciting things this year that kind of happened naturally is our student leaders were able, and Noelle's going to speak a little bit, to get out and help the student leadership team in Miller Driscoll and Middlebrook. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so at Middlebrook this year, towards the end of the year, we were able to start to go and help out their school climate team, and I think we did yellow and red, or red?
We did all three.
We did all three teams. And eighth grade, and we helped their kids do an exercise to show how negative words impact people, and they were all given a piece of paper that looked like a person, and then another piece that you would write a negative word on. They could do anything, there was no filter on it. Then on the other side, like a hurtful word. Then on the other side, they were to write a positive word that they have heard or they have said. And then a high school student and a Middlebrook student would read out the negative words, and every time that they heard a word that they thought was hurtful and would impact them or someone else, they were supposed to rip a little piece of their person. And then in the end, we'd read the positive words, and they were supposed to try to put their person back together to try to show that even though you say positive words, there's still going to be scars left from what you say to people. So it was trying to get them to understand how what you say does impact people. Even if you just say one nice thing, they're still hurting from another thing. And that was well received. And they were in the beginning weren't taking it very seriously, but then once they realized, okay, this isn't something to joke about. And we would make sure they understood that the high school, especially, bullying is not taken and is not accepted, and you're not cool for saying mean things to people. And then at Mildred School, we helped out with the bathroom project and went around and put up the posters to try to influence kids to use better bathroom behavior and make it their school cleaner.
I think that the powerful piece at Middlebrook, the 8th graders were a little concerned about doing this in front of their peers, and they needed some backup. And I think the high school partnership worked really well, and it's something we're going to be looking at, trying to take that out to all 3 grades next year. It was a powerful exercise, so we're excited about that. And just the empowerment of the students taking the initiative to see that happen, and the leadership that comes out of it. And as the students now are moving up to the 2 different buildings, there's a lot of requests, can I stay on this climate team? So the work is starting to really embed, so we're excited about that. Just briefly, some ideas for next year. It was certainly continue with the school improvement process, and our data is in the process of being compiled, and we should be getting that soon and presenting that in the fall. Looking at adding a parent resource center to the new website, offering a whole host of resources for parents depending on whatever the issues might be, and linking to agencies as well. We're looking at mental health first aid training for leadership staff in the district for next year, a plan for professional development for our mental health staff, and a way to have that regularly set up in the year. Also continuing our partnership with the Wilton Youth Council, and looking at some programs that we can do K-12 that would really begin to reach our most marginalized and disengaged students. So those are some of the things on tap for next year. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions?
No, it's fabulous.
Wonderful.
Fabulous.
Thank you so much. It's very exciting.
It is.
We now move on to review and discuss the District Emergency Operations Committee accomplishments.
Great. So Maria's going to take us through this. if the board's had a chance to meet, Brian Jacobs is one of our very accomplished high school teachers who has also been an integral part of this committee, and Deputy Chief Mark Amatrudo also from the Wilton Fire Department.
Thank you. You did the
Done?
presentation this morning. Thank you. Thank you for having us. We're pleased to be here this evening to present the primary accomplishments of the Emergency Operations Committee for the year. And I am very honored to be joined by these two gentlemen who were certainly leaders on the committee and provided a lot of guidance and insight from their own unique perspectives. So for those of you who are less familiar with the committee, it is a broad-based representative group of Wilton public school staff and town staff. We met monthly and we looked at the emergency plans for the district. We identified needs for training, we provided training, and the overall goal was really to ensure that we had consistency of practice and language as they related to emergency plans for the district. If you take a look at our committee membership, which continues on to the next slide, we had an administrator and a certified staff member from each school. We had Jory Higgins, who happens to be here tonight, and he was certainly a leader on the team. We'll hear a little bit more about some of the efforts that went on at Middlebrook shortly. We benefited from Kim Zemo's perspective. She was always pushing the group, not just to think about our response to emergencies, but also how we could look at things proactively, particularly from the mental health perspective, to reduce threats from within the building. One of the things that we really benefited from this year was continued support from first responders in the community, and you can see here the Wilton Police Department was very well represented. Our school resource officers were present at our monthly meetings. Wendy Fratino from the Wilton Ambulance Corps, and I have to point out Mark just for a moment. I think he came tonight hoping that I wouldn't embarrass him, but I have to brag a little bit. Because Mark is the emergency manager for the town, and this year we were very pleased to know that he was recognized in all of the Northeast as the emergency manager of the year. So I think he earned that just for the work that he did on this committee alone, but I'm pretty sure that it's his work not just across the state, but in all of the Northeast that led him to be recognized. And so
thank you.
I think we need to just acknowledge
It is important to note that the two people that I have the privilege of providing this report with were kind of the driving force behind a lot of what was accomplished this year. And quite frankly, I think part of my award was a result of them. And I think I've told you a few times, but and I've told Kevin as superintendent that these folks have really done a significant amount of work, and hopefully that'll show itself even more as we continue through the next few minutes.
And he's humble too. So, I don't know if we mentioned that Brian is also the instructional leader for emergency operations, so he's serving not just as a social studies teacher at the high school, but he did lead a lot of the efforts of the work this year. And being that we are highlighting our accomplishments, I'm having Brian start the formal presentation because he spearheaded a number of the efforts, and he's going to start by telling you about one of our biggest projects, which happens to come in September.
Thank you. So one of the biggest projects that the committee has to undertake every year is the updating of our district security plan. This year resulted in a document about this size, which is really sort of a catch-all for any any information that might be necessary in order to maintain safe and efficient operation in case of any kind of emergency that the school district might face. As you see, it provides a tremendous amount of information that can be used to respond to a number of potential crises that we might have to respond to. Initially, the document was quite a bit bigger than this. I think that a couple of years ago, when we first started having to file this with the state, it was probably in a binder, maybe about at least 50% bigger than that. But we've revised it down into a little bit more of a manageable document that can be used really as a quick reference guide in the event of a crisis. A school can grab their appendix out of it and have it as a quick reference for whatever they might be facing. Going forward, we've been able to arrange it not only to be more efficient in terms of its use, but also in terms of its, the updating on a year-by-year basis. Going forward for this year, as we head into next school year, we've actually been able to digitize it so that a variety of different documents that came together within what you see here is actually going to be housed on Google Docs, which allows the administrators of each school who are in charge of providing the updates for each school will be able to maintain that a lot more efficiently. In order to make sure that we have a very well assembled document to go to the state in November. Another big portion of this is a component of the the district plan is the standard response protocol. This was created by a foundation known as the I Love You Guys Foundation, and we implemented this over the past couple of years, and really fully implemented it this past year. What it does is it creates a consistent plan that can be used across all schools in the district, where we have 4 different responses to potential emergency situations: lockdown, lockout, evacuations, and shelter in place. What it does is it provides a clear description of what the expectations are for teachers, for students, in order to maintain a safe environment, in order to maintain an efficient response to the emergency. And it also maintains common language across all the different schools. So if you have a teacher who moves from one school to another, or students as they're moving up through the district, they're going to encounter as years progress, students down at Ciderville and Miller Driscoll, and as they get to Middlebrook and high school, they'll be more familiar with what it means if we find that we're running a lockdown drill or or an evacuation. So common language, which will make things more efficient for them. We've gotten a very good response from teachers as well. As we've gone through a variety of drills throughout the course of the school year, we found that they are more comfortable with what their responsibilities are. They're more comfortable with understanding specifically what drill is being run, what their expectations are. Very positive results from simplifying this. And these, we have quick reference documents for these, not just within the plan itself, but also posted through every corner of the building, where it was classrooms, offices, throughout all the schools, so that it's always visible by doorways, both for just a quick review and also in the event that we do run into a drill or an actual situation. There's a guy there that's teachers can grab right away and have everything that they need in order to help manage their response. And speaking of drills, over the course of the school year, we also, now every year each school has to maintain, 10 a variety of 10 different drills throughout the school year, including all the variety of drills that we have within the standard response protocol. We've been kind of stepping up our efforts in terms of the types of drills and also the complexity. Creating more situations where we provide unannounced drills, where there's not a full warning saying, oh, we're going to be running a lockdown on such and such a date, but maybe give wider and wider time ranges so that we challenge our teachers and our students to be able to respond in situations where they're not they don't know something's going to happen, they're not already getting ready and getting their classes lined up for whatever drill it might be. Put them in situations where they may have to think on their feet a little bit, where they're not necessarily expecting something to happen, because in the real world, of course, you're not going to get forewarning for an actual emergency. So this has been an effort that we've been moving towards to try to create the most realistic situation that we can in order to get our students and our staff familiarized as much as possible with what things what their responsibilities will be if something ever does require an actual response.
Before we move on, Jory, would you like to describe one of the more unusual drills that you conducted this year in response to this new effort that
Well, one of the things that we keep trying to do is challenge ourselves to be ready for the unexpected. And one of the things that we drilled this year was a lockdown drill from the cafeteria. Because up until at least this year, most of our drills have been rather controlled. And I say controlled in that kids, for the most part, are already in a classroom, and then we're asking staff and students to lock and hold in that space. So now when you put the kids 300 plus in the cafeteria, that creates, as you might imagine, considerable other circumstances that have to be worried about and considered. So what we decided to do this year, with the thought that staff are supposed to have duty-free lunch, and there's plenty of food that we don't want to have wasted or sitting out, we set up a schedule by which we could practice it in the morning, but telling the kids, look, you're going to go into the cafeteria, act like it's lunchtime, go sit where you normally sit, and when the time comes, this is what you need to do. and they were able to do it so very, very well. And of course, you do a drill like that, and you start poking holes in it and trying to decide, okay, what worked there, what didn't. Our local PD were great because then they would also offer suggestions about, well, where's the emergency and what are you trying to avoid and those sorts of things. So, you know, in the absence of doing that drill, you don't necessarily think through some of those aspects as you're going through it, but obviously having our local SROs and PD there, they've just been a great support to when we're doing these kind of drills, and they encourage us to take those risks and challenges, and it's all for the betterment of the kids and making sure that students and staff are going to be safe no matter what the circumstance.
Great.
I'm going to spend just a few minutes to talk about 2 or 3 areas. One of the first, or the first, is the reunification program. The procedures to reunify parents and students after an emergency is a very high stress, very critical, very dynamic situation. I'm sure you have seen the media reports, maybe even seen some of the after-action reports of actual incidents. When you look to see that reunification process, it's complicated, it's dynamic, and there's a lot of emotion involved. As you can imagine, that results in a lot of work to develop a plan front end, test it, and then refine it and implement it. During the year, we had the opportunity to develop kind of the large-scale plan for each of the schools. And in that process, we developed, or I can't say we because I didn't develop it, the group developed, or the groups developed, their basic structure for the plan, where people will go, and really mapped things out. The next step and the challenge for this coming year is to actually start walking through those, ultimately to test them, refine them, and then implement them. So that's something that's going to take up a fair amount of time. A lot of work has been done on the front end to map, write basic procedures, and draft the letters for the parents. Now, once we start the school year, as far as the reunification, we'll do some walkthroughs. We'll probably learn some interesting things at the walkthroughs, and much the same way Jory described the process that he used, that's what will get done on the reunification side so that we can put viable plans together for each of the schools. With respect to training, I had the opportunity to deliver a number of training sessions to the incident command staff at the district and the school level, and fortunately folks were able to actually get FEMA certificates for those. We did the programs. I'm credentialed as a FEMA instructor. As we finished the program, we literally signed people on to the FEMA website so they could take the exam, and they might have got a little coaching here or there to help them get through that FEMA process. But everybody who sat through it was able to get a certificate. And really, we've focused significant efforts on, you heard Brian talk about all hazard planning, and that's kind of the key of what we're doing. And I think we've got everyone in the ICS group that basic planning. The challenge moving forward is a little bit of specialized training when it comes to operations and logistics and some of the other areas. But at this point, we think we've got everybody. Now, when people change with the new year, we may have to do a little bit more training. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is the radio system that was implemented during the year. The Urban Area Security Initiative, or UASI, is a program that's done at the federal level. Our region, which is roughly equivalent to Fairfield County, received 600 portable radios and a bank of 700 megahertz channels, which allow first responders to communicate across with each other in the event of a major emergency. It's actually built off of the towers that the Connecticut State Police uses. That provided us a vehicle whereby we could link the school, the school district office, the fire department, the police department, the dispatch center, and the EMS folks on one radio frequency in the event of an emergency at a school. So each of the schools now has a radio. If there's a major emergency, they will dial 911 as they always have. Hopefully they'll remember to grab the radio, and off they go. And as you can imagine, when calls come into a 911 center, many of them will have conflicting information. If it's a law enforcement emergency, the sergeant or lieutenant from the car can talk directly to the school administrator and say, what do you have? Where is the emergency? What's safe? What's not safe? Fire, EMS, we have the same thing. So the radios are being tested. I hear a little chatter now and then, so that's the good news. The radios are being used. They are at each school and in the central office. They were purchased with federal grant, and they are on a dedicated Town of Wilton channel that anyone else can turn to and listen to, but no one else is talking on. So when that radio starts making noise in my office or in any of our offices, we know something's up, whether it's a drill or a test or something critical, we're there. We are one of the first, if not the first, in the state to go this route. We're going to start doing monthly radio tests as we get back to school, and hopefully maybe use it in a couple of exercises. And we think it's going to be significant improvement in the information that first responders have in those critical first 5 minutes when we and the others arrive on scene. And that's it. Thank you.
And so you're aware of the fact that each school has security cameras, a certain number of security cameras. And when we started phasing in security cameras about 8 years ago, we recognized that it was going to be a gradual process of assessing our needs and adding additional cameras. So this year, we took the opportunity to invite a tactical expert from the Wilton Police Department, as well as a security company representative, to join an administrator in walking through the building, walking around the perimeter of the building to identify any additional areas of vulnerability. And we just got some quotes in from the camera company for that, so we're going to be looking at that, making some recommendations for priorities, because certainly the comprehensive wish list is not always what you go for when you look at cost and what's reasonable for implementation, but we are going to be making a recommendation to purchase additional cameras that will be funded either through a grant or through any security task force funding that may be available. So we're looking forward to that, and we do really benefit from having the cameras. What we found over the years is that they're not always being used for large-scale emergencies, which is a good thing. They're used more on the day-to-day when we have injuries or if there are disciplinary incidents that we need to investigate. They can be very helpful, and they're preventative, because you know, when people know that they're on camera, they're doing just the right thing. And our kids are so good that even when they're not on camera, they're usually doing the right thing. But we recognize they're kids, and sometimes they make mistakes too. So, one of the other things that we did this year, since we felt like our emergency plans were in a good place, was we began to look at the resources that we would need in the classrooms and in the main office areas if there were longer-term emergency events that required people to be in one place for an extended period of time. So we identified materials that would be used in the classroom in the event of an extended lockdown, materials to be used in the main office area if we really had any kind of event, because we recognized that each school seemed to have different supplies. Some had bullhorns, some had vests, some didn't, and we wanted to have that consistency. So we've identified those materials. They're going to be ordered this summer and distributed before the start of the school year. So come the end of August, every classroom will have go kits with emergency supplies, and every main office area will also have resource kits for larger scale events. And then in terms of plans for next year, I believe we've touched on most of these throughout the presentation, but I just want to draw your attention to the last few. I talked earlier about Kim Zemo's influence on the committee and really pushing us to think about our proactive measures, and to really integrate the work of the school climate committees with the emergency operation committee. And those were just conversations that we had this year, more exploratory conversations. So we look forward to continuing that and thinking about how we can partner and work more on training staff for warning signs and proactive measures to reduce threats from within buildings. And then another thing that came up this year was something that Jory Higgins mentioned on a few occasions, which is that currently, if there is a drill in progress, or if we were to have a true emergency in a building which led to a lockdown, we don't have a way to alert people who are visiting the building and maybe just be arriving on campus at that moment when we got into lockdown, that they should not be approaching the building. So we're looking at different ways to notify people through exterior notifications like strobe lights or some sort of warning system on the outside of the building, just to keep people who are just arriving on campus safe as well. Overall, it was a great first year for me to be a member of this committee. I really benefited from the leadership and the historical knowledge of my two partners in this committee. And we're looking forward to next year's work, and we're happy to take any questions that you have.
That's great. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I just have one comment.
I'm sorry,
because
too late.
I think it was not that many years ago that the feeling was, the sense was that our emergency preparation procedures were somewhat haphazard. And I think it's encouraging to see this work being done, and I don't know if comforting is the right word, but certainly compared to where we were just a few short years ago, I think you guys have made great strides, because there were some concerns around when we first started doing our work in the buildings and safety work there. This is absolutely, top notch, and I'm thrilled to see it finally. I feel much better than I would have maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's obviously good work.
Thanks, Glenn.
May I say something? We started all of this emergency work back in 2001 after 9/11, and I think it's remarkable the amount of additional planning that's gone into each year. I was there for the 12 years, and then you've gone forth 5 years and still made it even better. And what I'm mindful of, given all of the news in the last few years of people doing stupid things in large groups, not just in the schools, I would like to ask policemen if there's been, I'm sure you have, but I'm just wondering, has there been any kind of planning for the town that begins to look like what the schools have done? I know the schools represent a huge part of the population, but we're probably not going to be flooded. But there might be some criminal activity that would threaten the downtown area. And how do people respond to that? I just think it would be interesting for you all to be able to alert the newspapers and let us know.
Mrs. Graybill, thank you very much. I appreciate it. This is not the forum to have that conversation.
Oh, I thought you asked for questions. So
it's of the board,
okay,
not of the public. Thank you very much.
Okay.
But if you have other questions, please submit them to us, and we'll make sure that we get them answered.
Well, I'll just ask the police department.
Okay. Fire department.
Yeah. Oh, fire department. Okay, excuse me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Really appreciate it. We now move on to summer curriculum work.
Okay, so we shared with you our plans for summer curriculum work. It's in your packet. The major areas we're going to be working on this summer are the 2 areas that we reviewed curriculum in this year, and that's social emotional learning and science. We're also doing a lot of refinements of the curriculum reviews we did in earlier years, particularly in English language arts, social studies, and world languages. And then there are various other smaller projects involved as well.
Great. Questions, comments?
There's significant changes in science, is that correct?
Yes. There were new standards that came out, the next generation science standards. So this year, I believe both of the Teaching and Learning Committee members have participated in that curriculum review committee, and we're going to be rolling out units over the course of the next few years.
Yep. And we didn't get through everything. The curriculum review didn't wrap up this year, so we're meeting next year as well.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Thank you very much. We move on to review and discuss the naming of Miller Driscoll School. As folks know, one of our board members brought up, actually two of our board members brought up the point that now that the construction is reaching its conclusion, there's an opportunity as we look at putting new signage up in the building and closing out the project, that it might make sense to consider renaming it. I applaud both of those board members for having the foresight to take advantage of an opportunity and think outside the box. Since that time, we've had an article in one of the papers online, as well as an online survey. I think we're all aware of what that feedback is, but I'd like to open it up for discussion among the board and decide if we're going to move forward. Any thoughts, comments?
Yeah, I'll go for it. I prepared.
Okay, sure.
At our May 11th meeting, I put forth the recommendation for the Board of Ed to consider renaming Miller Driscoll School. It was an idea that had been talked about casually for a while, but the timing now is right to formally explore the idea because of where we are in the progression of the renovations of the schools, as you just said. First, let me just say that I absolutely respect the history of our town and our schools, and that is why I made it a point to review and present the history of Miller Driscoll at our May meeting when initially proposing the name change idea. My main reason for a name change has to do with the social emotional learning and development of our youngest students. Our schools are not just about teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic. We focus on the whole child, and their social emotional development is a priority for us. I believe that a strong connection with the school they attend, which is built on school spirit and values, is important for students. And Kim Zemo tonight mentioned the importance of connectedness over and over again in her discussion. A name that is grade level appropriate and provides opportunities for the school to play off its name in creative ways, just as they do at Cider Mill School, can help foster a connection and sense of belonging to a school community. I personally have only received very positive feedback in support of the name change. And since our May 11th meeting, as Bruce said, we've received additional feedback from the community. Good Morning Wilton ran a story on the renaming of Miller Driscoll and asked its readers to vote on how they felt. The majority of the readers who took the poll were in favor of keeping the name as is. But it is also important to remember that that was not a scientific survey. It was simply a poll of its readers, and so we don't know for sure whether or not it represents the opinion of the overall town. But nonetheless, it's input and feedback for us, which we're always very appreciative of, so we thank the people for doing that. So going forward, I will support whatever the final decision of this board is.
Great. Thank you very much. Other thoughts, comments?
Yeah, I'll jump in as just some Lori's wrote thing down about it. Anyway, some of you know I went to Wilton Public Schools from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. And I apologize for repeating this joke over and over again that Helen Martin always said, I was the Driscoll girl that married a Miller boy. So, with that, my strong sense of Wilton and its history comes not just from the buildings in town or for the names of the people who lived here before we did. It comes from the continued interest and dedication of residents to making this a great place to live. Tilford W. Miller served this community well as a member of the Board of Ed, and Ina E. Driscoll, first as a teacher and then as a principal, was responsible for the education of many Wilton students. They are two among many people who dedicated their lives to the town of Wilton. Current school buildings have had name changes in the past. Middle School East became Middlebrook, for example, and Angeline Post School is now the Montessori School. And other older buildings have been repurposed. Center School, where I went to kindergarten, is now a place of business, and Strong Comstock School is now the community center. Wilton closed its one-room schoolhouses almost 100 years ago, not quite 100 years ago. It was time for the community to move towards consolidated schools. Many years and many school buildings later, Cider Mill School, which was originally Wilton Junior High, then it was Wilton Junior Senior High, then Middle School West, underwent a transformative renovation. When it opened in 2000, and it's the way we know it today, It had 4 schoolhouses. Each name came from one of Wilton's earliest schoolhouses, which is another way that we sometimes bring back our history. In the late 1960s, Wilton chose to honor Ina E. Driscoll and Tilford W. Miller. At another time, they probably would have chosen other people to name the schools after. I think anyone who lives in Wilton now, who's ever lived in Wilton, could find names of people, of educators and community volunteers worthy of memorializing. We're a vibrant community, and we'll always honor our history, as well as, and we have this never flagging commitment to excellence in our community and our schools. We are in a great position. We're opening a brand new grade school, basically, built with the pieces of Miller and Driscoll schools. This school is a living monument to Wilton's commitment to public education and to future Wilton children. It is greater than the pieces of Driscoll and Miller schools, and Wilton should honor it with a new name.
Thank you very much. Other thoughts, comments?
Yeah, I think, I've said in the past that I think naming a facility after an individual is probably the biggest tribute you can give to that individual. So you do it thoughtfully, you do it carefully, and you do it randomly, which is why one of the first things that I felt strongly about when I joined the board was that we should really put some restrictions on naming. And in fact, we did adopt a policy that does make it we discourage the naming of facilities after people. So the fact that 40, 50 years ago, the people sitting in these seats chose to name those buildings after Miller and Driscoll, gives us, you know, we have to respect that. We can't sit here and say we know better than they did or override their decision because the times have changed. It's history. It's history. We can't just wash it away, wipe it away because we've changed our minds about what they did back then. So I think it wouldn't be right to do that. You're just whitewashing history. And I know it's just the name of a building, but to those people who made those decisions and to the 2 individuals who were honored with that naming, I think we owe it to the history of our town to continue to honor those individuals. So I would be opposed to any name change.
Thank you. Glenn?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any of the historical connections that some of you have. I don't have strong feelings one way or the other. You know, it is an opportunity, as I said our last meeting. If we wanted to do something as an opportunity, that with the school being under construction, and if we're going to do something, now would be the time to make a change if we're going to do it. And I think it presents itself as a natural way of doing it. I think I was quoted in the paper as saying, I think, Bruce, you said it's a problem looking for a solution, and I said, no, it's an opportunity. And maybe we need to look at it differently as a teaching opportunity to try and incorporate something about the history of the school and Miller and Driscoll to the kids and even to the teachers. I doubt that the teachers there, many of them could even tell you why the school was named Miller Driscoll. And to kind of piggyback on what Laurie said, I know, Jen, now you have a mascot, right? And maybe it's time to adopt a mascot or have Miller Driscoll come bring a mascot forward in some way as a unifying, that Kim was talking about, and I think her points were well made, to bring the school together, bring it all together. Would be an alternative way of unifying or bringing it together. I don't know. I think it would make sense. Yours is new, and I think it's been well received, and I don't think Miller Driscoll has one yet. Or
they refer to Mildred.
Mildred.
Which is an amalgam of Miller.
Well, and maybe play on that, keep going with that. Or something. I don't know. I don't have strong feelings one way or the other. If we're going to do it, now would be the time. If not, we move forward as it is. And I have no problem with it staying the way it is, and maybe using it as an opportunity to educate the kids about why it is what it is, and the parents.
So we've received some direct feedback through the Board of Ed email alias as well, and 2 in particular that come to mind. One by a Wilton teacher that pointed out that the property used to be the Benedict Farm, and if we were to explore a new name, perhaps the Benedict Farm Elementary School would be in keeping with Wilton's history. And another individual that wrote in said the name does already reflect Wilton history, and it's a beautiful facility, but do we really have a compelling need to change the name of the facility, which not only brings with it the cost of the signage, but also all of the stationery and everything else. So there is a significant cost involved in making that change. It does not appear that we have strong consensus one way or the other. So it would be my feeling that as board chair and picking the agenda, that we not put this on as a decision to explore a name change at this time. I recognize that for some in the community that will not be taken well, and I'm sorry for that, but I also believe that we have more important tasks ahead of us as we look to continue to improve our curriculum and in other aspects of our district. If there is not any further discussion on this matter, I will then move on to the next item on the agenda. We move on to the financial report, and it's on for review and discuss as well.
Thank you. What you have before you is a little bit different than what I usually prepare. It's for June 16th, after the payroll of June 9th. As we're coming close to the end of the year, I wanted to give you as close an approximation of where we would end up as I could. And also the fact that a presentation of the budget was not made in May because of a canceled meeting. I wanted to do a little bit more than normal. You would think with just a few days left that you'd be able to get a real good, solid feel for the end of the year. But there are still a lot of things going on that are unpredictable. One of them is the fact that the salaries coming into the end of the year, 5 days, the 26th of June through the 30th, need to be posted back because they're going to be paid in on July 7th. So, and the people who were paid in that period are 12-month classified people and custodians and hourly people who work year-round. And while they are regular staff, when they're paid in a lump. So sorting them out and finding out exactly what that number is isn't quite, it's a little bit of an art and a science. Also, a lot of people tend to retire after school is closed. Why that is, I'm not really sure. But right now, with the retirements we know about and the severance pay we know as a result of contracts, that account is pretty much fully expended. So if there are any additional ones, it'll carry over. We're also in professional services, the 3000 series. Since last April, we've had $268,000 worth of changes, increase in expenses. And that occurs at this time routinely every year because of IEPs and the evaluation of students and settlements and the cost of attorneys and all those kinds of things. But to quantify them is very difficult. To give you some idea, last year at this time, in settlements by June 30th, we had $1.6 million in settlements. And this year, as of the 16th, we have $2,126,000, which echoes what Ann said at our last meeting about people seem to have come out of the woodwork in terms of asking for mediation, settlements, and special ed. And what happens between now, the last time we posted settlements, and June 30th, I have no way to gauge. And because they're settlements and they're negotiated, I'm not sure that Ann can make any kind of an estimate either. So right now, I see us as having a balance taking into account excess cost of approximately $197,000. But as you see on the last page, I've reserved $100,000 in settlements because we've been doing about $200,000 a month. Now, we might not make $200,000, but between the costs of evaluations and attorney's fees, we could easily go through that. There are other things that have happened in the districts, like new clocks at Cider Mill that were not budgeted for. We had $55,000 worth of telephone expenses that the town wants us to share that we're not budgeted for. And we have a fire panel at Cider Mill that needs to be replaced at the tune of about $35,000. So all these things are coming to the forefront. Obviously, by law, excuse me, we cannot exceed our appropriation. But right now, we are going through and cleaning up open purchase orders that we don't feel are needed, and we hope to balance the accounts with a small surplus.
Thank you. Questions, thoughts, comments?
Surplus taking into account the excess cost creators.
That's correct. Obviously, right now, we are $1 million, $926,000 over our fixed appropriation, and we are going to be getting $1.123 million in excess cost. Actually, that money has actually been received by the town. So they make the last payment in late in May.
Other questions, comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We now move on to the action items. The first one is fairly simple, in my opinion. It's to reappoint the superintendent of schools to another term. And I would like to make the motion to do so with gusto.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm sorry, you're still with us.
Thank you very much. I'm with you.
We next move on to the reappointment of the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and I will make the motion to approve that as well with gusto.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
We move on to the reappointment of the Director of Human Resources and General Administration, and I make that motion as well with gusto. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We move on to policy 1325, advertising. As you all know, it's been on previously for review and discussion. It's on tonight for discuss and approve. I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, we move on to policy 4135, collective bargaining planning. I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
We move on to policy 5111, age of attendance. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We move on to 5118, homeless students. I'll make a motion to approve. That's not approving homeless students, it's approving the policy relative to homeless students.
That is what it sounds like, though. But
Yes, I know.
I second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We move on to policy 6142, student nutrition and physical activity. Would you like to make a motion to approve that?
I make a motion to approve that. I move to approve that.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And we move on to the cancellation of summer meetings.
I'll make a motion for that one.
Is there a second?
Wait, who made the motion?
Kristen,
Okay.
is there a second?
I'll second.
You know, I'd like to talk about this. These meetings are an awful lot of fun.
Okay,
I'm kidding.
you.
All in favor?
Well, can I just ask though, if a need arises?
Yes, we can still have a meeting.
Okay.
And we have.
Those are what
in the
Yes,
past.
we have.
In the past, okay.
So
And
all-
committee work will continue.
Yes,
Well, your committee will work.
yes.
Our teaching and
You're not working
learning,
on
we also suspended our
Let Chuck do his
summer
You did.
meetings.
We just
Okay.
did.
So
Well, although we do have one
is
coming up
highlighted
next week.
meeting.
Just the
We're meeting
July
next
numbers,
week.
right?
Okay, just to keep control of this board for another 3 minutes.
No, you can't have control of the board.
All in favor of
Wait.
suspending summer meetings?
I still have a discussion.
Okay.
I just want to make it clear that Chris Finkelstein works harder than Lori and I do.
Well, no, wait a minute, I just want to.
Because she's going to meet all summer.
But we,
Bruce and Kevin.
Well, we suspended our meetings, however, we've already added another meeting because Anita came up and we had to, so.
Okay,
So even though technically we suspended them, we added, so.
gotcha. Is there any
We also
further,
can't text, right?
is there any further discussion?
Guess not.
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes
So
unanimously.
summer reading that we're putting aside?
So our next meeting, based on all of this, is Thursday, September 14th. Amazing.
Should we move it earlier in September? No?
No, Laura, you can do it.
That's good.
I think we can review that, and if we need to move one
I mean,
earlier, we can.
it's the first Thursday in September.
We can take a look at that.
The second Thursday is a Jewish holiday, so you
Oh, it
only
is?
have one September meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Great. As we do at the beginning and end of every meeting, we have an opportunity for comments from the public. Is there anybody who'd like to speak? Please come up, state your name. You have 2 minutes.
I won't be more than a minute. I wanted to affirm your decision to leave alone Miller Driscoll's school name. And I was thinking tonight as I listened to the different, in different reports or comments, when we changed the other schools, I mean, I wasn't here when it was changed, when we changed from one thing to Cider Mill or from one thing to Middlebrook, I think we also changed the kind of kids who were going there, the different grade levels that were there. And since then, we've had lots of construction projects. We built a brand new wing on the high school. We built a brand new wing on Middlebrook. And so I haven't had a chance to go look at Miller Driscoll, but the footprint, while it may have been enlarged, it's used the space that's there, and the same grade levels go there. And so it seems more fitting to leave the building name as Miller Driscoll. And so I applaud that. If we were going to change the site and maybe change the grade levels, then it might be the time to think about a different name. But I feel like it would only be confusing if we change the name for a building that remains where it is. And I love the history behind it, and I know that we can teach the kids to appreciate that history.
Thank you very much.
So thank you.
Glenn, just a clarification of record, didn't we reduce the square footage?
It is small, the footprint is slightly
Okay.
smaller.
Okay.
Yeah. Not much.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from the public? I make a motion to adjourn for summer. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
No,
Do you want to borrow? Does anyone else want to borrow your book?